applying to the lungs.
And the volume looks good, 400.
Volume looks good for,
Consistent.
I mean, again, it depends on the size of patient that we're talking about.
Yeah.
For an adult male, you're probably gonna want a little bit more, but even still, that's not bad.
So you got the valve closed. What if I turn this up a little bit now? Let's see what it goes. So it's a little bit under 4, so I'm gonna turn it down to like 4. Maybe a little bit.
There's no change in volume there.
So this is the controller now. Because we're overriding the regulator, you know? There you go.
Get a little bit more volume.
Yeah, let's get 400 now. It's over 400, yeah.
So I would almost say in your instructions, if you hold that constant,
Then work with this.
work with that. The challenging thing for like people on the street, you know, who are using this outside of the hospital is they're not gonna be able to measure
Yeah, it's,
volume like we can here, but.
no, but if we know what, if it's, like you said, if this is constant, if I keep one thing constant, if I say don't ever exceed 4 PSI, always set it at 4.5 or something, then this, you can even get you a little guide or something that says, you know, this is 20 degrees, this is, put it at 90, you know, put it where it needs to go.
Can you turn that up to like 5?
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna, well, this will throttle, you wanna throttle back or no?
Not yet, I just wanna see if we get 5 first
Because
with.
it errored out when we got 5 last time, so, there's 5.
Okay.
Yep, it's hitting right at 5, like right below 5 right now.
So I almost wonder if it would be better to leave that alone, and because it's correlated pretty closely with.
It's like 1 PSI is 100 milliliters of air basically, is what I'm saying.
It's correlated very closely, so. But also, I wonder if I change the patient's lung mechanics, if it will still correlate
Yeah.
closely.
Let's try it. This is so neat. I actually love this design.
It's pretty cool. So I'm gonna make. Let's make the patient healthier, because that would be a problem, like if their lung mechanics change drastically, given the same amount of parameters here.
That's cool. I made an emergency ventilator out of sprinkler parts. And I feel
It seems to be functioning very well right now. Again, with the exception of, I'm concerned about expiratory flow, and
Which-
that's really about it.
which is something that we can still work on too. I can design a
Yeah.
solution out of that, I'm sure. I'm confident in that.
And what's cool about this is like, even though we're seeing these pressure spikes, see that pressure spike there?
Yeah.
This is the maximum pressure essentially in the circuit here.
Yeah.
But if you look at what's actually being applied at the alveolar level, which is where it's important, like in the lungs,
Yeah.
is the yellow line right here.
And that's okay.
And it's never reaching really above 15.
Okay, good.
So 15 centimeters, 15 centimeters.
So stock configuration, I've probably got about 15 centimeters of peak with the stock diaphragm, is that what we're saying?
Well, it's not PEEP, so there's 2 levels of pressure. There's the high pressure here
Yeah.
is what we call peak inspiratory
So
pressure.
like instantaneous, right?
Yeah, it's the pressure in the lungs during inspiration. When the volume goes into
Yeah.
an enclosed space.
So which
it
one is
increases
the
pressure.
which one's the pressure after during expiration?
It's bottom pressure down here.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now you have probably about 3 or 4 of PEEP.
Oh. Okay. So the stock
just
the
with-
stock diaphragm's almost 5 PEEP on its own.
Yeah,
Then
and
all
that's
I'm
why
gonna
you're
do-
seeing some of that resistance. But
Well, then all you do is add a ball valve at the end. You don't even need a spring valve then,
I would
because then you can control the PEEP by bleeding. You know how much air bleeds out or not. Like add resistance to the line basically.
Right, you could do that. I would still try to get a more responsive expiratory diaphragm. Okay, so that way, like, essentially you would want 0 resistance to expiratory flow through that valve.
Yeah. So you should
So
be able
that
to
way
get to
you
0
can
PEEP.
dial, dial the PEEP valve in more precisely.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that should be your goal, is to make that diaphragm a little bit more responsive.
Okay. That's good. I'll work on that.
Yeah, really, we didn't see, let me change the mechanics again. The volume's held pretty constant, which is what you would expect it to do because it's a volume controlled device. We're controlling the size of the volume.
Yeah.
So what will change is the amount of pressure in the lungs. Like if the lungs become stiffer, think about like a balloon and a
You've got
golf ball.
harder to get
It's harder, it takes more pressure
which
to
is
get that
then would
volume
use
in.
more PSI and
Yeah.
throttle down the, you throttle down the volume but increase the pressure, you need this to do that. Because this should increase the inspiratory pressure as you get.
I
to
wouldn't
where it's
even
like-
worry about trying to mess with pressure.
Oh, okay.
That's why you're gonna set a 40 PSI pop-off.
Okay, and that's where, so then we'd be looking at adjusting that peak. Is that where we'd be looking at to help with somebody with having issues with taking air in because of resistance, or?
No, so again, with every breath, we're trying to deliver a set volume. So that's what we're controlling is the volume. So as the lungs become stiffer, it's gonna take more pressure to fill them with that given volume. Like if you have a golf ball that you're trying to put 500 mLs into versus a balloon that you're trying to put 500 mLs into, it's gonna take far less pressure to go into the balloon.
If I wanted to increase pressure in the circuit to force air into the balloon that's, tighter than it should be, then I would look at maybe reducing the size of this line, so that way it's a narrower but higher. Oh, you think it's fine?
I don't need to, no. So just watch what happens when I make the lungs stiffer. So look at the pressure in the lungs.
Yeah.
So right now, they're relatively healthy lungs is what we're
15, yeah.
Yeah, so 15, well, actually even less than that, because look at the yellow here is what you really want to look at.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
more like 13 to 14.
Okay.
And then if I make the lungs stiffer, because this is a volume controlled device, our volume, which is this one down here,
Yeah.
shouldn't change. We should still see, we're getting about, what,
Oh,
620 or
Because
630.
it will never be strong enough to fight the volume. When this equalizes, it would equalize at 4 PSI, which is more volume than a human should take, or the 40 centimeters of water.
Yeah.
It should equalize at 40 if it's fighting it. That's like the most force it's going to have pushing in. Otherwise, it's just not going to go in, right? If anything more than 40, resistance is going to be zero air going in because it's all going to bleed out half of this resistance.
Yeah, you're talking about with the pop-up valve.
Yeah. So that's how I'm able to
Prevent the lungs from receiving too much pressure.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Was how do I figure out how
The
much
problem is that, again, as the patient's lung compliance changes, so, let me show you an example, let me make the lungs stiffer
Okay,
here
so right now we work on, you said like 13, 14, okay, so I'm working
for
there.
the pressure, and we're getting volumes of just over 600.
Okay, so let's see what happens if I.
We make the lungs stiffer, which is what's gonna happen in these patients, their lungs are gonna be very stiff.
Yeah. So that's like an ARD kind of patient, or a?
ARDS, yeah. And so what ends up happening here, and it's gonna take a few breaths for the simulator to kind of kick in.
Looks about the same. Oh, but it takes a couple breaths.
A few breaths here.
That doesn't look bad to me.
Still not.
I did.
I may not have kicked over yet, but it's kind of slow sometimes.
I was joking.
You gotta wait for it to turn green before it.
Oh, so it hasn't really kicked in yet. Do we need to pull it off and let it reset the sim, or no? It'll live adjust.
Yeah, it's just slow sometimes.
The breath rate 16.2 breaths per minute. Total volume is 525.
There, it just went.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I'm getting
Lung
up
pressure
past
now?
15 now. Oh yeah.
Look at that. So lung pressure it didn't have a huge effect there.
But it went up 2 centimeters.
But you can imagine it, so as the lungs become stiffer now, like as the patient gets worse and worse, more sick, their lungs are gonna become more stiff.
Yeah, well, I mean, even two.
You're still gonna get the same amount of volume that's going in, it's just gonna take more pressure to get that volume into the lungs.
It's got to fight a
So,
little.
yeah, so the problem here that you're gonna run into is, if you set that at 40, okay, and let's say they become so sick that now it's gonna take more than 40 centimeters of water pressure to get whatever that volume is in,
They're not going to get it.
they're not gonna get the
It'll bleed
volume,
out,
because it's
yeah.
gonna bleed out. And so, in that situation, you would have to turn down,
Well, the blow-off valve is going to have the same configuration as the peak valve, so you can adjust the safety. It's going to start at
Yeah.
40, but you can if you tighten the wing up more and add more resistance on it, or compression on the spring, it'll push the diaphragm further in.
Yeah.
It'll get more than 40. If I start with a stock baseline at 40, like fully extended the spring, then if I focus on starting there, then you just compress it, and you can increase it from there if you need to. Otherwise, some people just set it, so it's not.
I would wanna kind of see it, how it responds with this once you have that.
Yeah, so yeah.
It's gonna be hard
to
to
do the same thing as this,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I would just tighten this, it's harder to. But yeah, that would be the next thing to come test, is the P valves and the blow off valves, and see how they, make sure they're working correctly.
I wanna try something real quick here.